Great guest today, everybody. First of all, in a little while, we'll be speaking with Marcie Hume. She has a new documentary on Corey Feldman, of all people. She's going to describe why he intrigued her and what she discovered in the course of the documentation. And then Tim Hardaway, NBA great. He has a new book. He's going to tell us how he uncanceled himself with dignity. The book is something you should run out and get. There it is, Killer Crossover is the name of the book. And he, of course, is one of the greats, and he's got a story to tell. And before we do all of that, we're going to talk to Alex Berenson. My question to Alex is, does he ever get tired of being right? Lo and behold, non-zero chance of serious events from vaccines, particularly in young males. Exactly what we've been saying all along. We're going to get to that and more right after this.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Alex Berenson, welcome back. You can follow him on X at Alex Berenson, Berenson. Substack is alexberenson.substack.com. So yeah, do you ever get tired of being right, Alex?
I wish I had not been right about this. I wish that the authorities had done the proper work starting in, really 2020, but especially 2021 to do some, first of all, to do the surveillance and then to do the right risk-benefit analysis on these mRNA vaccines for kids. And they didn't. Essentially the Biden administration and the sort of legacy media had spent 2020 scaring parents about COVID for kids and really completely overstating its risks to kids. And then they were desperate for some kind of answer to get all these blue state parents to let their kids go back to school. And they told them that if they just vaccinated them with the mRNAs, everything would be fine. It was a lie. And now, the truth finally under the new FDA, which has some very good people in it, is starting to come out.
I've been saying for a long time that particularly in the era of Omicron, there's a zero probability of a 20-year-old male being hospitalized or dying of COVID, a healthy 20-year-old male, and a non-zero probability of getting myocarditis. Those who did should sue the schools that required it as a condition of attendance.
Can't sue anybody, though, Dr. Drew. The PrEP Act is basically ironclad, and it's not just for the companies. There's sort of a misperception about this. It's by companies, I mean drug companies, but if your employer made you get vaccinated, if you got it at a pharmacy or Walmart, if your school told you to get vaccinated or your parents that you had to get vaccinated, they're all protected. With the liability protection we gave here is so much stronger than really it should ever be. Because, listen, lawyers, sometimes they get a bad rap, but they are a necessary corrective when things go bad, and things have gone very bad on this. And what I said earlier today is the vaccine, the pro-vaccine people, the people who really think that that measles is that everyone should be vaccinated against measles. And my kids are vaccinated against measles, and I think generally the standard childhood schedule makes sense. Maybe it's a little aggressive, but it basically makes sense. Those people should be furious with Pfizer and Moderna, and they should be furious with themselves because they pushed this. They pushed these vaccines. They're not vaccines. They have they work for about 3 months, maybe if that. But they push these shots on kids. Parents have not forgotten. And if you look at the statistics last year, even before this stuff came out, only about 3% of American children and teens under 18 were getting the booster shot last year. This year, it's going to be less. This is even if they don't pull it. So parents know they will never trust their doctors or the CDC the same way again. And that is just not going back. And the best thing that we can have right now is a real conversation about the mRNAs, about how this happened, and about whether they should be on the market at all, and certainly whether anybody under, you want to say 30, 40, 50, whatever you want to say, should ever be getting these again.
Right. And we're still leaving open the possibility that 75-year-old plus derive net benefit from this. I believe that could be. I saw one adverse event. And by the way, I made a report to VAERS. It was in a 100-year-old. She nearly died from the reaction. They never, ever responded to me in spite of multiple follow-ups. So if you saw on the tape that we rolled into, there's a rheumatologist reported a child that had died. They didn't follow up. This is disgusting. And look, Francis Collins himself said everything they did not take risk reward into account. That's not medicine. I don't know what that is. That's a military operation of some type.
It's not medicine, it's propaganda. And, the reason that I've gotten a lot of attention today or, over the weekend is for, Vinay Prasad. He wrote this excellent memo on Friday. He's the new head of vaccines and biologics at the FDA saying, at least 10 kids, they've now linked deaths to post-mRNA jab. It's probably a lot more than that. They're being pretty conservative. And I think they're only looking at VAERS cases. But what I had written was in January of 2025, there was a death in the Moderna clinical trial of a 4-year-old that they basically never reported. Okay, they put it on one very, very obscure European website. And because, I'm like, I don't know what you would call me, an aficionado of drug regulatory business, I know this site. But so I wrote an unreported truths, that's my Substack. I wrote this unreported truths piece about this in January. Moderna wouldn't comment. The FDA gave me what was essentially a BS comment. And, because it was still the Biden administration, nobody paid any attention to that. So now that the FDA is saying the truth, which is there are these deaths that are clearly linked to the shots, I went back and said, look, guys, back in January, I told you not just that there had been a pediatric death, but that it had been in Moderna's own trial. Now they can say, we don't think this is related to the shots. That's their interpretation. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But what is absolutely wrong is for them to sit on that and find ways not to publish that, not to report that when this is an issue of not just national, but worldwide interest. And that's what they did. You cannot trust these companies. You just can't.
Yeah, and Alex, listen, there's the FDA has a similar level of trust problem in the sense that, do you know how they determine whether something is or is not a vaccine reaction? I was reading some of their data the other day, and I was reading all these tremendous reactions, and they were all cast aside. Well, how did they determine that these were not vaccine reactions? You know how? They got a guy who looks at it. Some dude looks at it. It's unbelievable.
Here's what you got to look at, because this is what they can't hide. They can't hide the top line number. So in other words, like in the Moderna trial for kids and and adults too, there was a bad imbalance of side effects in the vaccine arm. Okay. Then they go through and they find reasons. Oh, this SAE, this severe adverse event, or this serious adverse event is not related. This one's not related because 18 years before, the person tripped on a piece of wood, and that's why he had a heart attack. So it's not the vaccine.
Right.
But if you forget their excuses, okay, just look at the imbalance in the two arms, whether or not the company is saying it's related. It's terrible side effects for the vaccine. And again, other vaccines don't have this. The mRNAs, this is the biggest problem. We were sold this hype job in 2020 and 2021 that this was going to be the biggest advance in human health, since penicillin, and it was just a lie. Okay, just like the Human Genome Project, like that was, listen, there's been some minor progress from that, but like that was a big hype job too. We have not seen any real benefits from the mRNAs, and they are basically dead as a commercial, vaccine technology for healthy, for respiratory viruses, for other viruses, and they should be dead. They are not ready for prime time.
Yes.
But
they are maybe a cancer treatment, maybe in desperate circumstances. Then it kind of starts to make sense.
Salvage cancer, that kind of exactly right. But for vaccines that are going to be given to 1 billion people, to healthy kids, they should never have been approved on this basis. And it's the Biden administration. Look, I expect the companies to hype and to, try to make as much money as they can. But it's the job of the regulators and it's the job of the science media and the media in general to ask the right questions. And they just they didn't just fail. They actually promoted this stuff. It's so sickening to me.
I hope you can. I know you've taken action as a result of some of these cancelings and censorship, and I hope there's something you can do here to kind of hold somebody accountable for all this. And then we have the bigger question next. So this is kind of sorting itself out. And by the way, Vinay Prasad was, again, very conservative and just reporting things we've known for some time, by the way. But the next question is, does this illness or did this vaccine make worse or itself the only cause clotting, heart attacks, cancers, other things we're starting to see? Is that really happening, and what's the cause?
I think, you and I were talking about this very briefly before the show started. It's so hard to tell, right? When you have events that are sort of common and you have a vaccine that a lot, most adults got, a lot of kids got, and then you have everybody who got COVID anyway. And, there's all these other factors that drive these, common illnesses, or, whether it's or diseases. So it's very, very hard to tease out. Now, again, I believe that Vinay and that Jay Bhattacharya, who runs the NIH, and that Marty Makary, who's Vinay's boss at the FDA, and there's a woman named Tracy Hogue, who's very good. I think these people are going to take this very seriously and try to get answers. I'm not sure we will get the answers. In writing about this now, it's hard for me to believe that I've been putting up these unreported truth Substacks for 5 years about this. There's been so little good work done out of the U.S. in particular, and maybe we'll start to get that. But, U.S. scientists have been afraid to look at this, either on the sort of cellular level or on the epi level, the epidemiological level. And now that we have the people in charge who are willing to ask the questions and maybe fund the research to find some of the answers, maybe we'll get it. But, it is a really difficult question.
And I think one of the simple things to do is to make a determination of what extent the spike protein is causational in the pathogenesis. And if the spike protein is highly causational and you're giving people an agent that produces uncontrolled amounts of the spike protein, you have not made things better. And you have probably made things worse. Just betting the odds here.
That's a very good question. And then the other very good question, Yale actually did do a study that came out almost a year ago that somebody leaked to me. That was another, for better or worse, like I get the data because nobody else wants to run it. That showed that in some small number of people, it appeared that spike protein was still in their blood years post-vaccination. So we need to know, is that a real finding? Is that some kind of weird artifact of the kind of test they're using? Is this, I don't believe that the mRNA has gotten into people's nuclei and into their DNA, but is that what's happening? What is happening that is apparently causing in some unlucky people the production of spike? And if it's not happening, then let's get that answer too. Yeah. Let's get some answers.
Well, I promise you that will be a positive finding. That there are multiple, including Redfield himself. Now, Redfield himself is studying these patients, and he is finding persistent spike, and persistent symptomatology immediately post-vaccine. So I don't know. Koch's postulates are pretty well satisfied in that case, seems to me. But again, you will find that ultimately to be positive. The other question, this is my last thing, is what do we do with the medical publication system? That has been so severely adulterated. I've relied on it so heavily, and now I don't know what to do with it. I saw Jay Bhattacharya say something that I loved. He said, from now on, it's not going to be where you're published, but that you're reproduced, that what you publish gets reproduced, 4 times, 5 times, whatever it might be. What do we do?
That is a great question, because it's funny you end with that, because, so before all this happened last week, I wrote this piece about the Pfizer mRNA flu vaccine, not the COVID vaccine. So there was this New England Journal. New England Journal is supposed to be the absolute best, right? The absolute best medical journal in the world, maybe with the Lancet, those two. And they published this paper saying, the mRNA flu vaccine from Pfizer was they said it was 35% effective. Okay. That's not very effective, but whatever. is that it's 35% effective in this big trial in 18 to 64-year-olds. Here's what they didn't tell you, Dr. Drew. In the exact same trial, had a second arm, a larger arm, in people 65 and over. Now, those people are the people who you actually want to, not get the flu, right? It's much more dangerous to them.
Correct.
In that arm, it was negative. There was negative effectiveness and massive side effects. And guess what? The New England Journal didn't go to Pfizer and say, this trial had two arms in it. What happened with the people in the other arm? You got to publish everything. We're not going to let you. How on earth anyone can trust the medical journals at this point? I don't know. So we're in a bad place with that. And I guess, things are going to be like they were during COVID, when you have like groups of people kind of arguing and fighting and hashing out the truth on Twitter, right? I mean, now X, but the lab leak stuff, that all came out of independent scientists on X. The problem, Dr. Drew, is that these trials are very expensive to run. So nobody outside the companies or the federal government can really afford to run them. So the journals are just going to have to stand up and say to these companies, we're not going to publish your junk just because you advertise in this. And they've not been willing to do it.
Well, listen, I stand on the sideline applauding your work. I always have. You can count on me to be in your corner should you run into more craziness with the censorship world. And please put all those Substacks together in a book, like with the historical sweep, so we can see how this thing evolved, because you were right there with it at the beginning. And it's just stunning. What really would be interesting is the way you were put down. You know what I mean? I know what you said across that time, but what's interesting is the people forget that part. You
got censored on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a maybe it's time to do that. I would kind of like to get some more definitive answers, but you're right. Maybe we'll be waiting another 5-10 years, and maybe I need another book before then. I appreciate the attaboy, Dr. Drew, and I will keep pushing.
All right. It's gonna be a minute, I promise that, but at least it's underway. That's the thing I'm hopeful with. When Jay Bhattacharya said they were considering him for NIH, I almost fell out of my chair. I thought I was in a Shakespearean play at that point. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Listen, there are things that I agree with Trump about. There are things I don't agree with Trump about. But what he has done and what RFK has done by putting these guys in, that alone makes me, very happy that he's in office, I would say.
Alex Berenson, alexberenson.substack.com, and Alex Berenson on X. We'll see you again soon, I hope.
Thank you, Dr. Drew.
You got it. Now, NBA great Tim Hardaway after this. Next year, the national debt is going to hit $40 trillion. As insane as that sounds, it's even worse when you consider unfunded liabilities for Social Security and Medicare. If our status as the world's reserve currency suddenly changes, our nation could collapse under the weight of its debt. And as we all know, there are many forces trying hard to take down that US dollar. This is why thousands of Americans are moving portions of their retirement into physical gold and silver. Our friends at Augusta Precious Metals have put together a 3-minute report entitled Debt Will Hit $40 Trillion in 2026. Prepare your retirement now. It details how a self-directed IRA with real physical assets may be the best option in 2025. Go to drdrew.com/gold. That is DRDREW.com/GOLD, or text Drew, DREW, to 35052. That's 35052. And you'll get instant access to this crucial report. If you have $50,000 or more in your IRA, 401k, TSP, or other retirement accounts, consider our friends at Augusta Precious Metals to give you the information you need to make an informed decision about your retirement. It's fine to fight for our nation's future, but we all need to protect our own futures first. Read this important 3-minute report by visiting drdrew.com/gold. That is drdrew.com/GOLD, or text Drew to 35052 and see what Augusta can do for you.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
Well, Susan and I have been traveling a lot lately, and coast to coast, so north and south. And we brought along our Paleo Valley staples, grass-fed and finished bone broth protein powder, the chocolate, my favorite, of course, and the incredible beef stick, which I've been eating a lot of lately. Stock up for the holiday, for your holiday travel, and get a discount. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley. The bone broth is delicious, packed with collagen protein. Of course, we can all use more protein, particularly as we get older. We're no longer eating that beef head to, nose to tail. This protein will help make up some of that difference. Minimally processed, made from bones, not hides. No GMO, no pesticides or hormones. Same goes for the beef sticks, of course, which are fermented and made with only the purest ingredients. They are delicious. Stock up for your holiday travel, gifting, hosting, whatever it is. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order, 20% off when you subscribe. All right, next up, I don't think legend is in any way overstating my next guest. He has a new book. Caleb, if you would put the full screen up there of the book, I would appreciate it. It is How He Uncanceled Himself with Dignity. It is Killer Crossover. Tim Hardaway, he's going to tell us his story. Tim, it's a privilege to speak with you. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me, Dr. Drew.
So tell us what the story is, what happened. I think some of the headlines, people kind of know, but it's always different for the human going through all this.
Well, a lot of people have asked me, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. This go back 20 years. And I'm like, okay, well, they always want to know what makes Tim tick, what makes Tim a Hall of Famer. Why did you go out there and play the way that you played at your height? And I always told him it's from Chicago. I grew up in a abusive home. My dad was an alcoholic. He abused my mom. And once my mom left, my parent, once my mom left my dad, then, I had to become the man of the household at sixth grade, playing basketball, going to school, and all this other stuff. So gang violence and drugs and all that stuff in the city of Chicago back in the early 70s and 80s. So, it's just, I just want to tell folks, how I grew up, adversities I had to get away from and deal with, and what made me strong, and why did I was able to make it to the NBA and all the way to the Hall of Fame.
I got to know, I know quite well, Dennis Rodman, and he had a wild upbringing down in Dallas too, with a lot of adverse events and stressors, and it's interesting. Being in the NBA can help or can make it even more difficult after situations like experiences like that. You don't know this, but for a minute I was the West Coast treatment center for substances for the NBA. And they had this psychiatrist down in Atlanta. He and his wife, she was a psychologist. And they did so much good work for the players. I mean, to me, I thought, oh my God, this is what you can do if you really pay attention and care about your players and, their well-being, and put that ahead of other things. Did you get that sense when you were in the league?
Well, you know what? Our generation grew up mentally ill. We just didn't know that we was mentally ill because we grew up in a way where parents, your parents said, do not go outside this household and tell people what's going on in this household. Or, we're going to beat you up. We're going to give you a whooping, and stuff like that. So you were scared to go out and talk to people and tell them what was going on in the household. You had to deal with it. You had to man up or girl up, and you had to deal with it. You had to become, you had to become strong with that. And that's the way life was back then,
Yeah. And listen, and there were many versions of that in this country, different cultures, different versions. And weirdly, this is what I'm reacting to it, Tim. Weirdly, of course, it was excessive, but now we've gone too far the other way, when people are coddled and they're pathologized for everything.
Oh my God! They did a 360-degree turnaround, and yes, we so far the other way where we scared to touch the kids now, your grandkids now. You're scared to reprimand them for what they have done because they need to understand what you're doing is wrong. what you're doing is wrong. And we can't do that out in the streets because somebody called the police and you go to jail. But back in the day, you know, when your mom said don't, or your parents said don't touch this, don't go in the house, somebody's house. If they ask you if you're hungry, say no, you're not hungry. Our stomachs was touching our backs. We were starving, but we couldn't eat. So, but yeah, you know, and I want to bring that story out because, you know, today it is different. Today they have somebody to talk to, and I urge a lot of kids and grown people to talk to somebody because they need to talk to somebody. You know, they killing themselves. You know, and that's not the thing to do. I mean, that's just not the thing to do because we love you and we want you to live and we want to help you. You can always call somebody, your friend, your siblings, or somebody, and somebody's gonna help you to understand what you're thinking is wrong. So, but yeah, I just want, you know, a lot of kids today, they insult my intelligence. They say they can't go and work on their game by themselves. I did. I worked on my game by myself. When my friends went out and hung out at different parties during the summertime, I used to go to the basketball court, climb up on the rim, put nets on, and play basketball by myself, thinking that I was playing against somebody that I'm going full speed, doing moves, doing a killer crossover, working on my game. And it was half moon. It wasn't a square out there then. It was half moon. So I had to work on shooting off half moon baskets. So, I mean, you know, when a kid tell me that they can't go work on their game by themselves, it's just insult my intelligence because I did it. And you just got to use your imaginations, which a lot of kids today don't have imaginations anymore because it's the phones, it's TV, it's a lot more channels, it's social media, and they want to be, you know, the it factor now.
I want to shine a little light on something you said about the backboard. You literally just had a little frame of a half moon behind. You didn't have the big glass,
right,
you know, thing you ended up working with. You had to get your shot right.
Yeah.
Another part of this, the professional sports, is when you leave. How was that experience for you?
Well, you know, it's tough. It's tough. That's why, you know, you have to know what you want to do 5 years, 3 years before you retire. You kind of know when you're going to retire. You kind of know when your body is like, okay, this is enough, unless you're LeBron James. And then, you know, you just keep going playing because, you know, I think he got another year or two in him, how he's playing right now. Wow. But you know, when your body is telling you, hey, you know, it's time. I think it's time. And you just got to start getting into different things, looking into different things and understanding what you want to get into: media, real estate, you know, trying to own your own team or what have you, you know, owning franchises, owning, you know, hotels or whatever. You just got to know what you want to get into and start it right then and there. So when you've done, you'll transition really good. But the ones that don't transition that way, it you know, it kind of hurts because you don't have no more income coming in. You had to rely on the income that you saved, and you had to dibble and dabble in there. So yeah, you have to prepare 3 to 5 years before you retire.
It seems like part of your story is service. That's part of the meaning making after your career. Tell me about your involvement with the Trevor Project and how that all happened and what people are going to learn reading the book.
Well, you know, I don't hold back. I'm just going to tell the truth. You know, it's trials and tribulations, it's ups and downs, it's adversity. It's how you deal with it. It's how you deal with adversity. 2005, what I said about gay people was wrong, and John and Michi, and I apologized to him. And once I realized that what I have done and what I did, you know, I had to rectify it. My parents always told me, you know, even though my mom and dad was divorced, I still had them around. I still have them around, and they still talk to me. They still give me advice, and you know, they talk to me and said, you know, where did that come from? Where did you get that from? And I said, the way we grew up, how we grew up, you know, in the churches, around the neighborhood. You know, it was instilled in my head, you know, that's the way it was. But you got to.
How did you wake up? How did you sort of come to? What was the process of coming to awareness that this was wrong?
My family, my kids, my wife, my parents, my brother, my relatives. They talked to me extensively, but they made sure that I was all right first. They called to make sure I was all right. Then they didn't belittle me. They didn't jump all over me or anything like that. They made me understand that, you're wrong and you shouldn't feel that way and you shouldn't act that way and you shouldn't sound that way. So I got in, not only with the Trevor Project, I got with the Yes Institute in Miami, and I started talking to them and I started going to classes, for about 3 months. And we interacted with a lot of folks and transgender. And, when I look at their face and when I hear their story and when I listen to them, how they talk about how their parents don't want them in the house, how they have to live out in the streets by themselves. And we talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. We're not talking about 30, 40, 45-year-old people. We're talking about young people that are that don't understand life yet, don't understand the meaning of life. And, and for me to say that and my voice, people listen to my voice, I think that it was wrong because everybody's like, yeah. Now you can throw stones at them. Now you can do whatever you want to do. But I had to rectify it, which I did. I rectified it. I went to class, made a wrong into a right. And I made people understand that we got to stop that. We got to stop, being hatred or being violent towards that generation because it's not right. They're people too, and they need to live their lives the way they need to live their lives. And yes, I changed. And if I could change, I think everybody else can change for the right and for the better. And I stick with that.
I mean, you were canceled before there was the word canceled, right?
Yes.
And then you sort of uncanceled yourself with service and self-reflection.
Yes, I did. Hard work. I had to really, really, really get deep into myself and really go out here and make amends and make people understand that I'm making amends. This is not fake. This is for real. This is me doing something for real. And I'm going to continue to do it. If they want me to do it, if they ask me to do it, I will go to different functions and help, do whatever I can do.
Are there other things in your crosshairs these days? Not to pull off the crossover metaphor, but are there things you're looking at going forward that you want to get involved with that are similarly addressing the hate that flies around in our country?
Well, I talk to kids every day, all the time during the summer in Chicago. I do different functions with the support group. I go to different places and talk to kids and make them understand that, go to school, get your education, listen. Listening is a skill. It's not an art. Listen. I used to listen to a lot of people, and I still listen to a lot of people because a lot of people have great things to say, and that can help you out in your life. If I didn't listen to those people, I mean, I'm not talking about got people with PhDs. I'm talking about people that I met playing basketball in the streets of Chicago. And I listened to the old heads, as we call them, the old heads. I listened to them and they taught me something just to listen to them. They taught me a lot about life and how to go forward in my life. And if I didn't listen to them, I could have been somewhere else. But I listened to them and I understood what they had to say. And that's why I try to tell kids, if you give a person 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years older than you, 5-10 minutes, they can say something to you that can change your life. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but sometime down the line that will help you out with your life, where you get out of or make you understand, hey, I don't need to do this. I need to back up. I could walk away from this before anything happens.
Yeah, Tim, I think that's a very powerful thing that sort of, it seems like we shouldn't have to emphasize it, but I really think we do these days. I have found myself saying, hey, look, I'm a time traveler. I've been traveling through time, and I'm bringing some news. I'm bringing news to you that you could use, things that you could learn from the time travel I've been through. And they were. I'm finding somewhat more receptive audiences these days, but they've been rejecting that for the last 15 years. And I kind of get it. We did that when we were younger too, right? I mean, that's just what we did. But I think right now in particular, they need to get the wisdom, hear from the past.
Yeah.
We've been traveling.
Drew, who was your old head? Who was your old head? Is that what you called it, old head?
Old head. Who was my old head?
Yeah. No, your old head, not old.
Your own head.
My own head. My own head.
Old head.
Probably, I had other physicians that I really soaked stuff up from in my training. Let me think. Before that, was there someone? My dad a little bit. I would pick teachers and things along the way.
I'm going to tell you this. It takes a village to raise a kid, but the kid has to listen to the village. I had many of people talk to me about different stuff. I was good in basketball in high school, and I had a teacher named Miss Hunter. She said, I got this little pen. Every time I see your head getting big, I'm going to push the pen in there and let some air come out so your head can shrink back to size.
I remember that.
So every time I played, and I had another a good friend of my dad. I went up to block somebody's shot off the glass, and after the game, I had a good game, so I got in the car, and I was telling my story. He said, look, MF, you little bitty MF, don't you be telling your story. That's why you got us here. We tell your story. You just sit back and let us tell your story. You just glorify yourself with us telling your story. So I learned from that, and from those days, from them days. Every time, I thought I was getting big for my bridges, I think about what they said, and I calm myself down, and I was all right. So that's how you keep yourself even key about things, just by understanding what people are telling you, and it'll come back around, so you can just even yourself out, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, it's an important time for those sorts of relationships. And I'm just so glad you're out there sharing your wisdom and being the old head for somebody else.
Old head.
Old head. You're being the old head for somebody else.
Yeah, I'm definitely the old head now.
Yeah, so is Drew.
Me too. But it's.
I'm the old headess.
Well, listen. We will keep pushing the book. You should get it, Killer Crossover. And if you want to read the story in detail, it's all there. There's a lot to be learned from Old Head. Yeah. He's a time traveler too, like many of us. and nothing.
He doesn't look old though.
But nothing could be more fun than you were a huge figure in the NBA for so many years, and then be sharing all this and people get the feeling they can get close to you through this book. I think that's a pretty big deal. So we appreciate you being here and appreciate you writing the book. And one day I look forward to meeting you sometime in person.
Same here. Look forward to meeting you too, and I appreciate you having me on. Must read. That's all I got to tell you. It will help you out.
There you go, Tim Hardaway. Everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can follow. Is there a website, Caleb? Is it the_original_crossover_king? Is that the
on Instagram? That's his Instagram account.
X?
That's where you'll find
Instagram.
him. Yeah, he doesn't have an active
it's
X.
IG. I see it. The_original_crossover_king. All right. So we are going to switch gears yet again, and we are going to speak to a television executive who also is a documentarian. Marcie Hume got interested in Corey Feldman, and he became the subject for her documentary, where she just documented what was going on in his life, and it got pretty interesting. And she's here to report what she has learned and why she did it, and what kind of interesting questions that old Corey really brings up for all of us by watching him and his reactions after this. I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid, it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15. Make Paleo Valley's grass-fed and finished bone broth protein powder part of your holiday celebration this season. Instead of grabbing that carton of Christmas eggnog, instead order some chocolate bone broth to mix up a delicious hot chocolate. It really tastes just like hot chocolate. Warm yourself up, warm your family and friends, guests. They will love it. Paleo Valley's chocolate, vanilla, and salted caramel bone broth are not only crave-worthy, they're high in protein, low in calories, nutritious. This is no ordinary bone broth powder either. It's made from actual bones, not hides. And it's a fabulous source of collagen, the most abundant and one of the most depleted proteins in our body. And Paleo Valley is free of pesticides, GMOs, steroids, antibiotics, hormones, and soy. And a cup of hot chocolate made with Paleo Valley's bone broth protein powder is a great way to keep your cravings in check. That's how I use it, particularly when those sugary snacks come out. Be sure to have enough in the pantry. And of course, Paleo Valley's entire product line lends itself to gifting. Remember that this season. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% off your first order, 20% off when you subscribe. That is drdrew.com/Paleo Valley. If there was ever a time to be rationally ready, it is now. I urge you to consider getting one of the emergency kits from the Wellness Company, because TWC has 7 different kits that are customized for a variety of situations. Wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at each, considering, say, what we've just been through in California with the fires. I was happy to have the field kit on hand, and the Contagion kit in particular is suited for what is being predicted to be the next outbreak, or avian or bird flu. Of course, the same experts from the COVID era are freaking out about this potential pandemic, but don't panic. Just arm yourself with the meds you might need if this comes to pass. Contagion Emergency Kit contains ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, Tamiflu, and budesonide, an inhaler that is good for airway reactivity and tightness, as well as reducing viral replication in the airways. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off your purchase. And as far as TWC goes, the Black Friday 25% off special continues for Cyber Monday, and it's continuing till when, Susan? Is it... It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
No, it's today. And also, it's a great gift.
Yes,
Give the gift of health, everybody. Yes. Get your friends, your grandma, your mom an emergency kit, because they are a great gift.
There's a lot of good stuff there.
And they're 25% off, I think, right now.
Yep. We're using them and advising people to use them over the weekend on a lot of different situations. All right, so we are going to talk about Corey Feldman. Marcie Hume can be followed on X, Marcie, M-A-R-C-I-E, Hume, H-U-M-E, and Instagram is also Marcie Hume, just one word. And do we have the link for the movie, Caleb? Is it just Corey Feldman? There's Marcie. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
CoreyFilm.com. There we are. CoreyFilm.com, where you can pre-purchase. You can see a trailer. I think the trailer will be playing behind us a little bit here. So talk to me about you as a documentarian and how you ended up turning your attention to Corey.
I was truly just fascinated by Corey. I think he is a person who is easy to dismiss. I think there are a lot of people that look at him. I mean, I saw the videos that he was making as he was trying to reinvent himself. And, a lot of people were making fun of him and laughing at him. And he has been through so much in his life. And I just thought there has got to be more here. And, he was kind of being treated with such a singular layer. And I really felt determined to kind of explore what else was going there, and just was endlessly curious about it. And so I did. I just developed a relationship with him and his world, and ended up going on tour with him at a time when he was really trying to do Corey and the Angels, and do that as kind of a musical interlude in life. And that just went places that I never expected, truly just went elsewhere. So, you follow what happens.
Now, some people look at Corey's behavior and go, "Oh, give it up, Corey. Come on. I understand it's hard not to be famous, but go, join the rest of us." And I think people get a little disdainful of some of this stuff, or dismissive of some of this stuff.
I really think, like all of us, I think he's full of dualities. I think I would hope any good story allows you to grapple with, yourself and all of the things that we all balance. So I think anytime we dismiss people, that is a dangerous thing to do. And I think that the curiosity that drove me to bother pursuing this so doggedly, and to really try and get into the layers of that world, is the ideal curiosity, I guess, you would want to have about life. I think when we look at each other in a singular way like that, or with a singular layer, it's obviously wrong. We're all, we all have so much going on within us. So I think that is what unfolds in this film. In the beginning, I came into it just so curious about somebody who had lived their life in such a public domain and had such an idea of the narrative that they wanted to craft about their life, but so much more unfolded. And so I went along for a ride that I truly never expected. I was, he would tell me where they were on the road, and I would join them on the road. I was on this tour bus. I was, sleeping with my camera on this tour bus, and would just kind of get up and go with the flow. And then, he kindly allowed me to go along even when he was, going on the Today Show, and was really going through some extraordinarily intense things, and was just in his entire world. So there's so much in this movie, Drew. It's so difficult to talk about, and the people in his life at the time. We took extraordinary care to give a full picture of the complexities and the intensity of all of the layers and all of the threads of the time. So it's a deep and complete picture of the time, for sure.
And how would you describe things that surprised you?
Everything surprised me, honestly. I thought I was going on a rock tour, and that rock tour, which was just inherently intriguing. There's a lot in the movie that's very funny because, it's one thing I resonate with so much with not just Corey, but the entire band, is they are doggedly pursuing something. And I think anytime somebody is just absolutely certain they are going to do this thing or bust, I have such reverence for that, because life is so hard. And, when somebody's determined to do it, that's extraordinary in itself. So look, the tour had its ups and downs. The crowds mostly loved it, but the tour, as you will see in the film, does come to a halt at a certain point, and things change. And so I, ended up following some darker themes that ended up emerging in that world. So you just have to go with the flow and try and understand as deeply as possible what is going on in that world.
And so when he sees himself, one of the intriguing aspects about documentaries where the camera's just running and things happen. There's a lot going on. It's very much like reality shows. I hear people on reality shows talk about how when they have to relive or revivify something that happened 6 months ago or a year ago, and then watch it on film rather than through your own eyes, so to speak, it's people have varying reactions to it. Anything from massive denial to looking away to soul searching. How did Corey come to all this?
Well, I was very grateful that he did watch the film. I think, and I think perhaps he would have been more a part of crafting the film. He went and made his own documentary, which is actually covered in this film. But I think there's a huge benefit to not having the subject be part of crafting their own narrative. I mean, I think if we only crafted our own narratives, I think we'd be in trouble, if we only kind of held the mirror up to
But you're not documenting then. You're sort of crafting something. You're running the cameras and documenting what happened. And then people have to revisit it when you agree to do this kind of thing, you got to revisit it. And it's interestingly challenging for.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I mean, watching oneself on tape can be excruciating in general. I mean, I don't think any of us have any idea what we actually sound like, look like. Most of us hate the sound of our own voices. So we just start there, right? But I think I always hope that people will come to things with an understanding of the value of the greater story, the value of seeing something larger. I had really hoped to have a larger conversation with him and to perhaps talk about different eras in life. This was actually quite some time ago. So, he may be a very different person now. I thought there was a lot of opportunity to this. At the moment, I don't know that there's an opportunity to do that. So, but, I will remain hope and go ahead.
Let's quickly kind of talk about, there was a couple of sort of themes that come up for Corey all the time that people will want me to address. He's often talked about pedophilia. He talked about Corey Haim and the problems that Corey had. Do you have any different sense of that than sort of what the headlines reveal?
He certainly talks about that. I feel really fortunate to have spent a lot of time and, as I say, have been invited into really intimate, personal times that he was really struggling and facing a lot. So I think the value is, he spoke so intimately about those things, and those are in the film. And I think you get novel information for sure, but also just an emotional intensity that is, it is profound on those points. And you also, you see him going through his process of wanting to make this documentary that he did put out, which was part of his process of coping with everything that he's been through. So there is a lot in there. And I did not go into the filmmaking of this thinking about those subjects whatsoever. But I think when you enter that world, perhaps those subjects are unavoidable. I suppose
Let me
I
ask
should have
this.
done that.
I think there's another sort of layer on that same kind of theme that a lot of people think about, which is what happens to child stars. People that are in the media as children. I've thought about this a lot. I've met a lot of them. Danny Bonaducci, who was on the Partridge Family, always told me that all the stars he knew, childhood stars, including himself, who were having difficulty because their mother and father were problematic, and you're starting with, these are the kinds of parents that are putting a child into these environments and keeping them there and driving them, through these processes of auditions and whatnot. And it's interesting. Danny said that the actor that played Mr. Kincaid, the manager for the Partridge Family, saved his life. That he saw this kid was in trouble and just sort of became a steady force in his life. But I've seen that over and over again. But that's not the only thing. There's something about losing they often, because they don't have a great family life, their family life is on the set. That's where they start developing intimate relationships, and those relationships disappear overnight. The production ends and pow, they're all gone. And it may be after years in the case of a television production, maybe after a few months in a movie production. And I'm wondering if you came upon any material as it pertains to these topics. And some of it also is, again, they love the attention, they love the whole thing. They can't let go of the characters they were playing. There's so many different aspects to this.
Absolutely. This film is a verite movie. I mean, it is embedded in the world. It's not a talking head film that discusses these topics. And I think the huge benefit of that is that you feel those themes in a visceral way of somebody who had to grow up in an environment like that was in so many ways so difficult, so out of their control. And I think it just invites you to pay attention in a different way and notice these layers and wonder how that might affect a person. And it is, it just really invites that attention to those and invites you to think about your own opinion of those things.
And addiction has been a theme, or at least substance use has been a theme in his life. Where did you find all? It seemed like he was. He doesn't strike me as somebody with progressive addictive disease right now. He's sort of whatever that was, not active right now in my sense.
There are people that speak around that topic in the film. It's not something that I gave voice to many people in the world, to try and paint the fullest picture of the world. It is not something that I encountered deeply or in any way investigated. So I know that that's a passionate topic for a lot of people. So I think there's so many other behavioral themes around it. You'll have your own,
there's other more interesting things.
Opinion away from it.
Well, that's what's really interesting about this documentary. There's a lot to take in, and as much as you take in, you end up with more questions, and the more questions you have, the more questions pile on that. I was very surprised. Absolutely. It was not what I was expecting, and I didn't walk away with a clear construct for what I saw. I'm not quite sure what that was, but the struggle was there, the humanity was there. I didn't see any progressive addictive pathology. I don't think he'd be alive right now if that really were active in his life. Really active. I don't know, but hard for me to imagine.
Well, I like what you're saying about. The goal I think was complexity and painting the fullest picture possible of what was going on in that world. And so I do hope that it provokes attention to more kind of questions and understanding of, not just him, but people in general and how we look at other people. I think there's so much going on in this world. And look, there's also, the beginning of the movie especially is extraordinarily funny and absurd, and it's the pursuit of kind of an impossible dream. So it really covers the gamut. But I think all of us can, especially in that absurdity, see ourselves reflected. I certainly can. Look, this movie took me 9 years to finish, which is absurd in itself. So here we are.
You're lucky you didn't die on the way. Jesus.
Right. Yeah, would have had something happen to Corey.
Tell me about it.
Oh,
but you know what? It's good. He didn't die, so that's the good news.
No, he
right?
didn't. That's what. These are the kinds of question marks you end up with Corey. It's like, given what I'd heard about him and his addictive, I would think, oh, this is gonna be that story. It's gonna be bad. It was not. It was not that. And then I thought, oh, what's he doing? Maybe it's this. No, it's not that. so good. Where do people see it?
Right now, the trailer and pre-order link are available on Apple, so you can find that on coreyfilm.com. And then it will be available on December 11th everywhere. So on all your favorite Amazon, Apple, Vudu, YouTube, and all of that.
Netflix?
Go to coreyfilm.com, and then you can find the links on there if you'd like.
Okay. And is it something where I'm just so everybody's prepared, do you have to pay per view kind of thing, or is it just if you have the platforms,
right now you just
it's on there?
purchase the film, and right now, if you purchase it now, you pre-order, you just get an email as soon as the film drops, and it will be yours. So that you will see it.
Somebody on YouTube said it's a good movie. Secret Bass Rigs
said that on YouTube. Good. Well, I agree. And how's the reaction been to it? What have people been telling you?
You know, even in early screenings, people were really freaking out because it just covers so much territory. You know, it is funny and heartbreaking and complex, and it really does take you on a journey. Again, it is so different than what I ever imagined, but you kind of have an obligation as a filmmaker to follow what's going on and try and paint a comprehensive picture. But we definitely, I think, got to the depth. Some of the depth I was looking for, but I have to say, I just think there's an infinite more that you could plumb, you know, as it is with humans. We go on and on into our worlds of ideas and behavior.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing. Ed Galvez on YouTube said that you're an amazing director and loves your Magicians documentary.
Well, we'll give a shout out to the Magicians documentary. I made that a long time ago, but that I will still stand by that movie. Of course, I would have made that differently now, but that's how things work, you know?
And what will we learn by watching that?
Magicians, you would learn also what it is to doggedly pursue something that you care about and dream about. And you would learn what it is like to be a magician. That's for sure.
Wait, your bio says that you're on the board of the Academy of Magical Arts. Is that accurate?
That's right, Caleb. When I go to the Magic Castle.
Learn something every day.
Well, Susan's brother is a long-term Magic Castle something.
He is. He's a magician.
Yeah, he has some status there. And he would go into that library that's like Dumbledore's cave, Dumbledore's office, and weird stuff would be revealed to him.
Mm-hmm.
But it is an very odd, unique world. And,
it is.
But you got to remember, a lot of people started with Johnny Carson was a magician. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
people forget that it's a lot of people's comedian-esque, particularly back in those days, started with magic.
Yeah.
Well, I will happily also give a shout out to the Magic Castle and the Academy of Magical Arts, because I will also continue to try and do very cool things there as well, so we can have people pay attention to that.
I can't believe it's still there. Even after COVID, it's still there.
It's under new ownership and new owners that are going to take it to great heights. So it's going to be there for a very long time. So maybe I'll see you there.
They must own the land. They have to own the land.
Yeah,
Marcie, anything else before we wrap up? Anything else you want to direct people towards, or
no? I would love it.
Magicians now?
This is an independent film that obviously took every ounce of will. I mean, it's an entirely tiny team that just brought this together and felt that it was an important enough story to, finish and make happen. And I love the film so much. And I think I'm just so excited for people to see it. So I'd be thrilled if people can jump on and share it and pre-order it and all that. And I hope to have a continuing conversation with Corey about it. We'll see if that can happen. But otherwise, just really excited for people to see it. Thanks for talking about it. It's great to talk with you.
Or maybe we'll bring Corey and you up here at one of these interviews one day.
That'd be fun.
That'd be amazing.
Susan's like, Susan's onto that.
I have another fun fact, though.
Yeah.
Steve Martin and my brother used to do magic together at Disneyland.
Yeah, at the magic shop
That's
on
where
Main
my
Street.
brother started and he used to hang out with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Well, before, he just was a magician. And
If you read
he sold magic tricks at
Don't say just
Disneyland.
a magician,
If you
please. Don't break my heart.
Well, Steve Martin has a biography called Born Standing Up, I think.
Before he was in
and he talks about that time in Disneyland, and then Knott's Berry Farm, where he was in the melodrama theater, and then how he moved out of that.
He is pro magic for sure. He's a supporter of the magic world. Shout out to that.
All right,
it's hysterical.
Marcie, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you, and good luck with the film. Look forward to people's reaction to it.
Thanks so much, you guys. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, we've got some interesting. Susan was just talking about on Thursday. We are thinking this day after tomorrow.
We don't know yet. I haven't asked.
Well, but we are going to at least do some Q&A on Thursday, and that'll be in our normal time at 2 Pacific
with the Rumble feed.
With the Rumble feed on the Rumble Rants.
If you're on Rumble, you can ask questions.
And we will just sort of get into it a little bit. Tomorrow, I'm delighted to welcome Tish Hyman. And if you don't know who Tish Hyman is, I don't know where you've been living, but she cracks me up, and she has a clarity of thought that I think deserves some elevation. Mm-hmm. And she was traumatized by someone who is known to be domestically violent, and she takes on politicians. And my favorite Tish Hyman moment, Caleb, get ready tomorrow, is where she's talking to, I think it's Scott Wiener. And after everyone keeps telling her to shut up, she goes, I'm leaving. And she gets out, but this is not good. You got to support women. My name is Tish Hyman. And she walks out and drops the mic. I'm like, yep, I want to talk to Tish Hyman. So it'll be delightful to talk to her. She has a lot of interesting thoughts. And she herself she describes herself as gay and black and is concerned with women's rights. Corey DeAngelis has been taking on the school boards, the school unions for quite some time. He's very active in California politics. Rob Henderson, Chloe Carmichael, just looking what's coming up. Del Bigtree, Naomi Wolf, that'll be a big show. Peter St. Ange, Jay Palantir. We got just a lot of stuff coming in here coming up. And I'm sure there'll be more. Susan is worried about Venezuela. And so there is some talk on Thursday about bringing...
Well, I don't know. We'll find
There's
out.
talk of maybe bringing one of our intelligence peoples that we've talked to here and there to give us an update on what I'm
China
hearing.
Expert
Is this? There's a China thing in the Venezuelan story, but bigger, there's a Iran story as part of the Venezuelan story, and I think we need to kind of educate ourselves about what is going on here. It's going to seem mysterious. It already seems mysterious, but I was around. In fact,
you want me to pitch the idea to the person, or is that, I just didn't know if you were...
I'm up for it. Okay, but Susan, I don't know if you remember, but we were out of the country when Noriega was taken over.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the helicopters go by.
That's right.
And that was a similar kind of a thing during the Reagan era, where they went in and he was a drug lord and they pulled him out of there and they let the country run again. And I think Noriega is still in jail here. Am I right about that? Caleb, do you don't even know what we're talking about? It was too again, I'm a time traveler. Like I said,
slightly familiar with that. But who was the guy that Trump just commuted his sentence? He was serving a sentence here. Is that the same guy you're talking about?
Yes.
Is that him? Okay, a different guy. Okay.
No, that was a very different thing. And again, whoever I'd like to talk to Mike Benz, Susan. If you really want to talk to somebody, Mike Benz would be the guy. But he seems busy.
Text him.
I'm sure, but let me quickly look at you guys. You're all saying thank you. We appreciate you all being here, stopping by, and watching the show. On the Rumble Rants, where we'll be taking our questions on Thursday. Okay, you guys aren't as aggro as you normally are over there on the ramps. On the rants. Okay, excellent.
Aggros?
Aggro, that's an old term from the 70s,
Aggressive?
meaning aggressive.
Aggros. We need some aggros. We need some energy. We got to get over the turkey comas and come back.
Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. We're now into the holiday season here, and we will be here with you. We'll see you tomorrow at 4:00 Pacific time. Be there. Tish Hyman. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. Emily Barsh is our content producer. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 888-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.